Bragg About Business, the podcast telling the stories of local small businesses and entrepreneurs in and around Bragg Creek, Alberta, Canada. Brought to you by Cowboy Trail Brewery. Cheers to the West. Hey, did you know our marquee sponsor, Cowboy Trail Brewery, has won some accolades from the World Beer Awards? Indeed. Cowboy Trail Dark won the world's best gold medal and Canadian gold medal. Cowboy Trail Blonde, and my personal favorite, silver medal. And the wheat ale came in with a bronze. Congratulations to Jason and the team down at the brewery. Now go out and get some of their beer because their sponsorship fees are about to go up. I am your host, Gregg Hinton. This week we speak with Peter Fuerbringer of Bluerock Ranch. Bluerock calls one of the most picturesque locations in the foothills home, Mesa Butte, about 30 minutes south of Bragg Creek at the end of the 762 highway. Peter and his wife, Emma, are serial entrepreneurs and have horse ranch, Airbnb, and several other businesses. The conversation is full of great advice, and their story's pretty cool too. Enjoy. Welcome, Peter, to Bragg About Business.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is fantastic. You have a beautiful ranch here.
Oh, thanks very much.
My goodness.
Not hard to have something beautiful in this area. It's just
right.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. I mean,
honestly, we pinch ourselves every morning. We wake up and we're just like, man, this is our life. I get to be here, be in the Bragg Creek area, in the mountains, just sitting right there in our doorstep. So it's a really special place.
So your ranch is about half an hour from south of Bragg Creek.
Yeah.
And what part of your border onto Canada country? And so the Blue Rock Mountain is in the background there. But what is this area called?
When you look it up on the Weather Network, it calls it Q, although I still have yet to find the town of Q, but that's what it calls it. But we're just that, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes down south of Bragg Creek to the southwest. And our west gate literally walks you onto the Mesa Butte area of Kananaskis country. So
Mesa Butte.
Yeah, we love that because we can ride out with the horses and we're, in a million acres of some of the most beautiful country in the world.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. So 80-acre ranch, and you and your wife, Emma, and your daughter moved out here in 2022.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we came out, I'm from Alberta originally. My wife's actually born in England, and we raised our daughters largely in Alberta. But, about 10 years ago, we moved out to the West Coast. Her parents live out there, and we kind of had a dream to be on the coast as well. And pursued some business interests out there. And then, after COVID, we just really wanted to come home. And Sophie, our oldest daughter, is very into horse training and has really excelled at it. So we wanted to create a family ranch, a horse ranch. We don't have any cattle here, where we could have her pursue that passion. And Em and I have a passion for business as well. So we wanted to integrate the two things.
How do you do it? Yeah, you are a serial entrepreneur. Aside from the horse part of the ranch, you've got many other interests as well. Yeah. You're full-time in the military?
Yeah, still. Yes. I'm terrible at quitting. Okay, I'm terrible at quitting. I think that we're those entrepreneurs that got into business so that we could get time back. So, I joke and say I'm ambitiously lazy. Kind of how we put it. And my background, I started out in the military, actually in the pilot trade, and, realized that was going to be tougher on my family than I wanted it to be. So moved over into communications, switched from Air Force to Army because apparently I hate sleep, and was able to pursue that alongside, us actually stepping out into the private sector because one of my military leaders actually that I really respected always told me, he said, Pete, make your own luck, in life. And that was something that we took seriously. And my wife is a force of nature. If you ever meet her, Emma is her name. And she has been very successful as an entrepreneur. And so we've just carried that over into the ranch now. And we call this our passion project. And, we like business. And somebody says you can't do something, we're kind of like, let's try to figure this out. Yes. So it's been really fun being part of the Bragg Creek area business community in our own way.
Absolutely. And there's several people that I've interviewed on the podcast now that have, and there's always that line out there that you hear people say, well, if you follow your passion and turn to your business, you'll end up hating what you love. For those people, that's not true. They really still love what they do. Like I think of Alberta 66 mountain biking just down the road from you. Jeff, you brought that into, or Woodgate brought that passion out, and he's still doing it, right? And I can see from you and just talking to you for, just a few hours, you guys love what you do.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun out here. And we really love this area. And I think that had we not been able to get into this area, I'm not sure we would have come back to Alberta from the coast. And, we just had this opportunity that this ranch came up, and our friend Robin Burwash, who's a local realtor, a lot of people know who he is, just called us and said, hey, I've got a property I think you're going to love. And for us, I think what we love is actually the business community here in Bragg Creek. We've been able to hang out with Rob from Turkey and Pistols a fair bit. And I think we're, hopefully going to get him out to the ranch with some of the music stuff that wearing one of his speakers right now.
That's right.
There we go. Represent.
Yes.
And, Powderhorn Saloon is one of our favorite haunts. We just take friends out there,
Yeah, it's a great spot.
yeah, exactly. The hardware store, like Bragg Creek's got this really cool small town vibe about it, which I love.
Yeah.
And I think, that's kind of what we want to be, is more boutique here on the ranch. That's why we call it our passion project, because we never wanted the money of business to get in the way of our ethics and our values in business. And so we've been able to keep that intact out here, doing it, I think, in a way a lot of the entrepreneurs in this area do it, which is because they love it.
That's right. This very similar mindset when it comes to entrepreneurs in Bragg Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you came out here in 2022.
Yeah.
And now how has the ranch grown? Because you've got a breeding side to the ranch and horse sale, but then there's many other facets that you've created here too.
I think like anything, you learn on the go. And I think with Emma and I, maybe where we've been successful is we kind of start and then manage the decision later. I think you got to just kind of go for it. And Emma's definitely more that person than me. I'm like the kind of, I don't want to say skeptic, but I'm more like that. Well, what about this? Conservative. Yeah, there we go. Exactly. Word, right. Yes. And she's like, let's go. I'm like, So that's kind of our dynamic, which is great. And
it's Sophie, the Churchill in her.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And Sophie, our daughter, is a consummate entrepreneur herself. Our other daughter, Elena, actually dances for Victoria Ballet. So she's on the coast, but she comes out for the summer. We love it. She loves the horses, and she's invested what the family's doing here as well. So Sophie's kind of the same. She's a really good mix between Emma and I. So, coming out to this area in 2022, I think, quickly we just decided that we wanted to have an operation, and we've got an Airbnb on the property here as well, which has been surprisingly popular. I don't think we anticipated that it would be as popular as it is, but I think when people come here for the Airbnb experience, we use the word experience intentionally because we want them to feel welcome, included, affected when they're on the ranch by every person on this ranch. We're a small boutique operation. We're not big, and so when they come out here, I've seen in other environments where, sometimes horse people, they're almost a little bit, they try to exclude people a little bit. It's like, wow, they don't know anything. And I think here, what we want to do is really honor the fact that they're interested in the horses, they're interested in the area, and bring people into it, because I think that people protect what they love. And if you can share that passion, for the horses, for the area, for the lifestyle, the Western lifestyle, it's something that they can take with them as well. And we have people that have, been around horses a lot, people that have never been around horses, heavily into nature people that are more in city people. From all over the world. And so we've really enjoyed that experience of getting to know very interesting people. And a lot of them we're friends with to this day. We got friends in Wyoming and Ontario and all sorts. So that's the one side. And then we grew a little bit into the event side. So we have a very small events, we as a location.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Beautiful. I mean, I can envision people getting married out in your back.
Yeah, right. And actually, this has been really neat for us because we kind of make it fun for them. We have I call it the redneck limousine. So either they're on a quad or side by side going up the hill to where the really big views are and stuff. And and that's been really fun. So we've been collaborating with some local photographers, and they use our location for more like elopements and things like. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. Is
surprise weddings.
Yes, surprise. Sort of like elopements and stuff. So they're up on the hill and it's just beautiful. Yeah. And so we've been working with Crystal Shahuda. She's a local photographer. Laura Tobin, she's come out a number of times. She's big into branding and things like that. She's done a lot of our personal shoots. Monica Jarosinska, she's come out from the Dusty Journal, and Rosewood and Ivory. So she's been out here as well. And just, we collaborate with people a lot on the location. So the event side's been really fun. And we're planning to maybe expand that a little bit, but we don't want to be like, heavy duty kind of events place. We just, maybe a handful a year or something like that. Yeah. And then the horses, of course, we've never got into the dude side. We have some incredible neighbors that do the dude thing. They are Moose Mountain, Neil at Moose Mountain, who was on your show, right? And who's also got a military connection, which is
that's cool. Crazy. It's such a small world.
I know. Yeah. It's funny because I didn't know when we moved out here that he had that neighbors. Operation. I know. And we were literally had our horses out in K country, and I looked over and there's this, nice rig there with these horses. And I'm like, sir, I know you. So he's like, it's Neil. I'm like, oh, sorry. It's weird for me to call you Neil because he was a senior officer. And so it's been great getting to know them better. And we send our Airbnb guests there as much as possible. And Anchor D, Dewey over at Anchor D Ranch. They've got an incredible operation over there, and they do wonderful stuff. We see them on the trails and stuff, so we send our guests over there for different experiences on the dude side. But when they come to this ranch, I think we just love educating them and letting them get around the horses because our horses are really friendly.
They are very. You introduced a couple of them to me, and they come right over.
Yeah, and that's really what we wanted with our horses. Em and I are entrepreneurs, as you know, and I think when we wanted to get into the horse business a bit and dip our toe into it, what we really watched the market, and we're kind of like, what kind of horses do people actually want? And I realized that a lot of people, the majority of the market, actually wanted horses just like my wife wanted. Just a great partner that they can have a lot of fun with, you can ranch on, you can ride in the mountains, you can just have a nice day with, but a horse that's going to be like a friendly partner for you.
Right.
The kind you can sit in a field and it would just hang out with you. And so when we pick our horses out here, we really pay a lot of attention to the way their personality is. The best piece of cowboy wisdom I ever got about horses
Yeah.
when I was out at the CL Ranch, was where my dad worked. And I
Okay.
spent a lot of time out there with him and sometimes even worked at the ranch and things like that. Was horses have personalities and you can't train the personality into them, nor can you train the personality out of them. So we really focus on picking horses that have a great personality first. And do you get it right all the time? No. But I'd say we're getting better and better all the time. And so
Right.
a lot of our horses have gone all over the place and are succeeding.
Fantastic. So where do you source your breed stock from?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. So in terms of choosing our horses, Sophie and I in particular scroll horses online like most people scroll TikTok. And so we're always looking at different deals that are out there, different people selling. And what we've done is we've created a great network of individuals that we trust, and I think trust is to me the most important part in business. It's
Of
what we
course.
want to build with our clients and friends. And it's what we look to build with people that might be we might be picking prospects from. So we've got a great individual up near Edmonton area who has a lot of untouched horses, and we kind of like them sometimes untouched to start with
Yeah.
because we get to start them our way. Then
Yeah.
we also have others who are in the mountain guiding and all that kind of stuff. And when they have really nice 1 year olds, they know the kind of horses that we look for, and so they give us a call. They're like, "Hey, I got a couple of horses that you should come take a look at." So we're building a good network that way. And then sometimes you find those diamonds in the rough. So we really, when it comes to the horses, we spend a lot of time selecting, getting to know, getting around those horses so we get the right ones. And we do a very small amount of breeding on the ranch. I wouldn't say it's our main effort, but
Because that takes a lot of care and control too.
it is. And it's
Yeah.
it's sort of like, I think in business, often you have to say, well, what's my main business? What's my core business?
Yes.
And it's really easy to diffuse your energy into different little side projects to the point where you're just busy rather than productive.
Yes.
So I think here we ask ourselves, is what we're doing productive? Is it lined up with our vision? And I think that if you don't have a vision, it's really difficult to know what to do. So we spend a lot of time on our vision, on our character and principle goals, all those kind of things, so that when we make decisions about, even how we acquire horses, all that kind of stuff, it lines up with the vision of what we're building in that field.
So it's not haphazard.
No,
It's methodical. Yeah.
yeah, it's become more methodical over time as
Yeah.
well. Like I think you learn, and I think that as an entrepreneur, I know, and I'm sure my colleagues and friends in Bragg Creek would say the same thing, is that you make mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes, and it's always great to make those mistakes when you're small. We have no intention of scaling the the horse business or anything like that. We've done that with other companies in the past, but I think that we're glad that we've been able to make the mistakes that we've made and learn from those mistakes. And I have to take my hat off to Sophie, our oldest daughter. She's had the privilege. She went to school for colt starting at Lakeland
Wow.
College. Yeah, so that was great. And then she's had the opportunity to work with one of the top local trainers, an individual named Kent Williamson. People know that name if they're in the cow horse side of things. Kent, really took Sophie under his wing and taught her a lot. And I can see that come out in the way she starts our horses here. So she now runs the entire equine program, all the way from our
Fantastic.
intern program, which I'm happy to tell you more about later.
Yes.
But from that side into the training, and for a gal of 24 years old, I just love giving people opportunities to thrive, prove what they can do. Age to me is irrelevant, because I've met some, what they say, with age comes wisdom. Well, I've seen age come alone for a lot of people, right? Right. So I really look at
Indeed.
the individual, do they evaluate experience, and all the rest of it. And so Sophie's one of those people who really has, and I can see that coming out with her business acumen now.
Yeah. Well, she's got a great trainer, so
Well,
that helps too.
Thank you. Or maybe
Yeah.
watches what not to do.
Yeah. Oh, you learn both.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we really work very collaborative with our children, Elena as well. And I think that's why I think what we're doing here is very much a family business. And we approach everything as a family. We're very integrated with how we do things. Em and I are very integrated in decision making. Yeah, so it's been fun, and I think that's actually a reflection of the area, because a lot of the individuals I know, whether it's Leighton and Brooke Green from Green Ridge Ranch, or whatever, they really treat things like a family. Oh, really cool.
And that's the nice part about being in this community.
Yeah.
And by the sounds of it, you've integrated yourself in a very short time with all your neighbors and all the local businesses.
I think we love to collaborate. We like to promote businesses that we feel are doing it really well. We always look at the people behind the business, because to me, business is actually very personal. People say it's just business, it's not personal. I totally disagree. I think who you are in business is who you are in every area of life. And so, we've made an incredible network of friends here in the business community. I mean, Leighton and Brooke are great friends of ours. And we've watched their boarding business thrive down at Green Ridge Ranch and had the privilege of using some of their facilities for what we do. We've really, Rob, and I think he's just one of these heart of Bragg Creek type people. I just love hanging out with him, going to Turkey and Pistols every time just to say hi.
Right, yeah.
Always end up with a t-shirt and hat,
Yeah, exactly.
And just the others, you can really see how they've integrated their passion into their business. And I think this area is actually a big part of that. There's a certain honesty to this area, a certain, it's a place where you become attached to.
Very much so.
And so I think that plays in there as well.
No, definitely. We're so close to like the city of Calgary. It's, a little over an hour away maybe. But you get out here and you do have that country vibe where it's just more old school, and it's so enjoyable. It's so refreshing because I grew up in the country, hour north of Winnipeg. And that was the way it was. When you live in the city for, most of your adult life, you'll miss that. You want to go back to that. I mean, you lived in the Lower Mainland for a long time too.
We did, yeah. So the evolution of all this is actually kind of funny because, I used to be at the CL Ranch, the Copperthorne family, Marshall and Teresa, two of the finest individuals I know. And to this day, just have so much respect for them. And just learned a lot from the cowboys that were there and the time I got to spend with them. And, I was just, a young kid on the ranch there when I was there and part-time in the city with my mom. And so we had it. I always kind of had that connection. But, when we moved to the West Coast, I thought this was all left behind, to be fair. I didn't think we were going to have the country lifestyle. And so I don't know if you like stories, but so we were living on the beach in White Rock, because some of our business ventures had been successful, which is, ambitiously lazy and enjoying life there. And we have this hill to die on rule in our family. And it was really invented because we didn't want the girls to argue over dishes because they'd be like, I don't want to do this. And I'd be like, wow, this must be a hill to die on for you because two people that love each other as much as you to argue like this. Well, I got this.
Yeah.
And luckily shame worked. So the gals,
the right amount of shame.
Just the right amount, the right amount. And so the gals were like, oh, we better not argue because dad will come and do the dish or mom will. So, but it evolved into this thing where if somebody says, what's going on here is a hill to die on for me, everybody drops tools, everybody stops doing what they're doing, and we listen and we take action. Okay. And so when the girls were 14 and 16, we realized that, their life at home was maybe not going to be that much longer. So we said, what can we do to make a dream come true for you? What do you want? And to put in context, we're sitting in our beach house in White Rock in about as city as you can be, right?
Yes.
And the gals were like, we want horses. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
Of all the things.
And like, we want to live in the country, have the country lifestyle. Em and I were like, is this a hill to die on? And they're like, yes. So to be fair, we sold our place there. We bought a farm on Vancouver Island to kind of get things started. We made sure the girls had a big part in the success of even just setting that up. We gave them about half the amount of money they needed. So they'd have to be resourceful to acquire horses and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And they learned a lot from that experience, but we could see that they were committed to it. And so we sold that farm and bought another farm on Vancouver Island. And, we thought maybe for all intents and purposes, that might be where we stayed. And it was just for pleasure. We didn't have a business element to this. We did some events, but that was about it. And, then of course, COVID hit, right? And my wife and I do a lot of public speaking around North America on business topics and things like that, just for private events and things. And so when COVID hit, I saw people treat each other in a way that I really struggled with. And thankfully, we had a little bit of a platform. So we wanted to bring people together and we were doing a lot online. But, neighbors were really treating neighbors poorly. And we just, something about that, and that seemed to even be magnified on the West Coast. And we just had this heart to get back to Alberta. To, like you said, this area is neighbors take care of neighbors. Yeah. And that's what I kind of missed, at least a little bit from what we were observing. So that's when we started looking for what we called at the time, playfully, the Christmas Ranch. And we had all these pictures and a big vision board up about what it was going to look like, mountains and this and that, really idealistic. And so we eventually found this place. And that's how this all evolved from literally the girls saying,
which is, you ask a teenage girl what she wants to do. And then they're 14, 16, and we want horses. We want a ranch. Thank goodness they were serious.
And I think when Sophie went to school for it, that even made it more serious for us. And I think, when we started getting back to Alberta and things like that, and this area in particular, to put in context, I used to, when I was a kid, younger, high school stuff, I used to drive down the 762, right? Drive 549. And, I just fell in love with it. And I was just like, man, can you imagine what life would be like to be able to actually live in a place like this? And I remember saying that to myself, like, you drive by Millerville and be like, what do these people do?
Right? Yes.
That they can have this lifestyle. And you'd go to Bragg Creek and just be part of the community there, like on the outside looking in.
Totally.
And so I think the area was a real dream for us as well. And when we realized we could actually live in this place based on, the work that we'd done before, because it's not a cheap place to live.
No.
Land's expensive. Things are expensive out here. Yeah. And I think that's why we like sharing it as well, because not everybody has access to this.
It's true.
But, I think for us, that was the realization of a dream.
Yeah.
but dreams evolve and we have more dreams now. So.
Yeah, exactly. Bringing it back to the ranch now.
Okay.
You've got the horse breeding, you've got the Airbnb, you've got some events. What kind of events are you guys doing here?
I think the thing with M&I is we're pretty flexible. Like if somebody comes to us with an idea, we're going to entertain it.
So you're not just tied into weddings or anything like that? Or
no. I think if somebody came and said, hey, I'd love to run a man camp, I think I'd entertain it. I've recently been introduced to man camps.
I'd like to hear more about that.
Honestly, I think it's like, let's chop wood, and stuff, I guess, whatever that means. Or if somebody said, I'd like to run a weekend yoga retreat or something like that, with horses around and stuff. I think we'd entertain that, we just kind of want to understand what their vision is for the event and, what the business side of that would be. And so I think that we have this beautiful place. We're the type of people that don't mind sharing, and giving other people a chance to be in this place. And so when it comes to events, something that's outdoors that maximizes the beauty of the nature that we have here. I think it's showing off, what I consider to be some of the best of Alberta in terms of the mountains and everything like that. I think we're just really open people, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Weddings are the low-hanging fruit because who doesn't want a wedding? And it was really our Airbnb that started that, because people would stay and be like, hey, we were planning an elopement. And we've had elopements here all the way from Holland. People coming all the way from Holland. I know, it's really cool. Actually, I've told you don't call it Holland. It's the Netherlands. Okay.
Right. Yes.
Apparently. Get that right. So yeah, I think that's the kind of thing we're flexible with. If somebody wants to have an event in a beautiful place with people that are pretty amiable to how things can go and whatnot, then I think we're probably the good people to give a call to through our website, and hey, I want to do this. What do you think? And maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but we're open to it.
Yeah. And you operate year round.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're on the ranch, and in the winter, it's winter, as you know. The cost of a view is a hill. We do have a driveway that, 4x4s are necessary.
Yes, but you didn't want one of those in the winter, for sure.
Yes, sir. Yeah. We take our 4x4s very seriously out here. But yeah, winter time as well. And I think my hope is we've built a whole trail network on the ranch as well, thanks to the help of my friend Sean, who owns an excavation company. So he helped us cut a whole trail network, and he's got this very cool. This mulcher. Okay, sorry, that shouldn't have struggled with that, but I had no capacity to understand how powerful these machines are. Well, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this thing goes through anything. So
it does.
I remember him doing that, and all of us sitting in our chairs just going, this is awesome.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a few weeks ago, we had Dennis from Beaver Tooth Mulching.
Right, I saw that.
And he did work at our house. Yeah. And he brought this mulch around, and it's like a carburetor for trees.
I actually watched your podcast on that.
Did you?
And to be fair, I've been a big fan of the Bragging About Business podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I know you guys are new into it, but I've watched every episode, and I did see that with the beaver mulching thing. I'm like, what a cool business.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And he was one of those guys that has property on the 762 and just started it because he needed it done. Yeah.
It's funny how necessity, what you need, often becomes a great business.
And that's how we started.
Yeah, absolutely.
So getting back to the Airbnb, talk about the bed and bale.
Bed and bale. Yes.
Yeah.
So my wife is wonderful. I think she's such a great entrepreneur because she always thinks about the things she would want. And usually the things she wants are what other people want, and I think that's why even with some of our real estate stuff we've done in the past, she always makes things the thing that she would want. And oftentimes, like I said, there's that connection. So the bed and bale, Emma said, wouldn't it be great if somebody could bring their horse to the ranch, right? And, have their horse here, ride it out, do all that kind of stuff. And then, stay at the Airbnb. So for the bed and bale, basically, if somebody wants to bring out their own horse to the ranch, so we keep it separate from the other horses too, for health reasons, all that kind of stuff. But we have small pens that they can put their horse in, and they can feed their horse and all the rest of it here on the ranch. And then they can literally ride out every day and whatnot. So yeah, it's kind of a neat idea that Emma had, and I love it. I think
right on. That is awesome. So aside from Bluerock, you've also got a coaching business.
Yes.
So speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Emma and I have been the recipients of excellent mentorship in business. And I think where we really started to succeed in business was when we found entrepreneurs who had time, for starts, that was important, but also who you could tell had ethics, values, and wanted to build a life they love, not just a good business.
Right.
And I think those are sometimes two different things, because you can get lost in the weeds of, I just want to be successful in business. And I think money is one of the worst judges of, or one of the worst measures of someone's success. I think you have to look at how they live their life. And so we met this great couple in Calgary. It was really the start of our entrepreneurial efforts, named Mike and Leslie. And, they took us under their wing. And so we've been mentored by them. Our friends, Dan and Sandy on the coast, have given us tons of great mentorship, and not just business, but life. And so, we've defaulted into that. And we have a particular view on how to make business accessible to everyone, because I think business can be a big challenge for people because it's expensive to start a company.
Yes.
We bootstrapped a company that was one of the fastest growth, I think it was listed as the fastest growth company in Canada for a while. Yeah, that
Wow.
was the early learning company that we built in Calgary. So we know how hard bootstrapping a company is, but there's a lot of things that you can access now online that can help you start a business without the same requirement for capital. So you can almost
Yes.
make up for the capital with sweat equity. And those are the kind of opportunities that, we like talking about and whatnot in business. But once that entrepreneur has a business, then we have to talk about how you actually succeed. And, often when we speak on the topic of business, I say lovingly that a very small percentage of the individuals that are wanting to get into business will have the grit to actually make it successful. It's like fitness goals. I mean, everybody, I've yet to meet the person that doesn't want a six pack, me included. Right.
I hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet, why? Why don't we all have that kind of success? And I always say, like, the statistics are the same in business as anywhere else. If you looked at everyone, I'm sure, who set that fitness goal in on December 31st for January 1st,
Right.
and then re-interviewed them back on December 31st of the following, at the end of that year, I think you'd have a 1 to 2%
Probably
margin of people that actually have said, yes, I've succeeded at this goal. But it's not because there's a lack of gyms. There's not a lack of outdoor space. There's not a lack of advice. There's not a lack of, I think if it was up to information, we'd all be, have a six pack and multimillionaires already.
Yeah.
So it's something else. And I think when it comes to some of the coaching stuff that we do on the business side, I think that's what we emphasize is that, a lot of what's going to help someone succeed in business isn't going to be their technical savvy. It's actually going to be their ability to manage disappointment.
Grit.
Deal with frustration, when you're not feeling successful, not to run back to the cover of your job or something else like that, and surround yourself with good people. And I think that's why we kind of like have a particular view on business, because in business, especially when you're dealing with money and big dollars and things like that, everybody's happy when things are going well, right? Yeah. But as soon as things don't go well, you start seeing people's character. And to me, character is your conduct under pressure. It's how you behave when you're under pressure, not who you are on a good day. And so I think even with our community, the people that we associate with a lot, even with our business friends in Bragg Creek, I've seen a lot of people who are their best when they're under pressure. They're the same person under pressure. And when I talk about always wanting to surround ourselves with like-minded people, that's what I'm looking for. But that's also what we try to, or what we prioritize in our conversations around business and becoming an entrepreneur is you have to set character goals. Who are you going to be on a bad day? And that should dictate the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I want to be a fit person, but all the people I surround myself with are like, more leisurely, let's have barbecue on the weekend people, I'm probably going to eventually not succeed at that goal. But if I surround myself with people who are like, let's go mountain biking, let's do this, let's do that, it's their lifestyle. Chances are I have a higher likelihood to succeed. So I think when someone gets into business, having a great business community around them of people that are going to promote that side of them, that are going to encourage them, I think is really important. And having a mentor that you can trust, whatever that looks like.
No ulterior motives, nothing like that.
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, even better, somebody who succeeds when you succeed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Someone who's not paid anyways, that kind of thing. So like you said, but the goal is having a life you love. So I think we tend to select individuals to mentor or that are thinking bigger than just their business. They're thinking about the relationship they have with their children, the relationship they have with their spouse, having time for those things. Because I mean, at one point for me in the military, I was gone for almost 18 months, and I just took a step back and said, is this what success looks like?
Right.
And so that motivated some of the changes that I made and whatnot. And so we talk about things like that because it's so easy. I think the middle class is one of the hardest echelons in the marketplace to get out of because nothing's so bad. It's sort of like that very slow kind of thing.
Yeah, the pot is gently warming up.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. So right? When you jump into that whole entrepreneurial spirit, that side of yourself, and I know we've talked a lot on this topic, but the idea of that mentorship, the mentorship piece is we really want to normalize the experience of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
The experience of, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. The experience of, okay, I'm really tempted to be my worst self right now so I can make an extra $1. Yeah. But maybe what's the long-term impact of that? And that's even with our horse sales that we do here at the ranch is I tell every client that approaches, because we only do about 10 horses a year. We've sold a total of like 25 or 30 horses in our lifetime, right? I say, hey, we want a long-term relationship. And I think one of the things that inspired us with the horse thing was the number of stories we've heard about people who have been taken for a ride, if you know what I mean, in not a good way, gone out to look at a horse. It wasn't exactly as advertised, all the rest of it. And so for us, we kind of did the same thing with the early learning company. We just heard the stories of people that were having a tough go and created a solution. And so even with our horse stuff, we think about the same ideas is how can somebody have a really authentic and real experience buying maybe their first horse, maybe their 10th horse, so that they feel like they are talking to people that they can trust.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. I could talk to you for hours. God,
Thank you.
yeah, this could go on and on. But no, your philosophy on business is tremendous. I think you should come and speak one night at the chamber meeting in Bragg Creek and just have an open conversation about entrepreneurship with members. I think it would go over really, really well.
Oh, we love that.
Yeah,
We can share. We learn from others all the time, so
Yeah.
we're pretty fortunate.
Oh, that's great. That's great. When you first started Blue Rock 3 years ago, what challenges did you immediately have to overcome, and how did you do that? I mean, there had to be quite a few because, again, it's a beautiful ranch, but I'm sure it wasn't like this when you got here.
You know, we were lucky that we had a great palate to start with.
Yeah,
But, I
yeah.
think anytime you buy something that belonged to somebody before you, you're going to start noticing the things that you want to improve or change and fix. And we've invested heavily in the ranch. We had to fence off all 80 acres
My
to
golly.
starting with that, right? And we've had to shape the property, contend with even the hill that we have on the property,
Sure.
which was kind of a new experience for all of us.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time on that side of it, and also making the Airbnb what it is. We really like the Airbnb thing for the people part, but also we want to create a great experience. So my wife Emma is gifted when it comes to interior design. Like, honestly, she moves like a chair, and I'm like,
Beautiful.
well, thank you.
This is fantastic.
I wish I could take credit, but I cannot take any credit. Like, I'm just like, honestly, she's just like, just put it down and let me finish. Ever since the lime green wall of 1999 or whatever it was.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your
Peter.
lane, buddy. Stay in your lane. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
So she's done a really good job. She really pays attention to the little details. And so shaping this property, I don't think you ever feel like you've arrived, but the journey is really, really fun.
Yeah.
Frustrating as well. You're like, why can't this all just, snap of a finger, be done, So we've had to be resourceful. But yeah, the ranch has really come along. We built, like I said, the trail system for ourselves as much as anyone else. The fencing to make sure everything stays in where it should. And then, with even the venue area, we cleared all that up there where we want to be able to do those events and things. So yeah, just that kind of stuff. So, beaver mulching, for example, he's familiar probably with that whole process. Sean's been a big help and others. It's been good.
Oh, that's good. What advice would you give to somebody who's starting out wanting to be an entrepreneur and build a small business in Bragg Creek?
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that they can rely on is a very supportive community. I have yet to meet someone in the Bragg Creek business community who isn't that kind of salt of the earth, grassroots kind of an entrepreneur, which I love.
Yeah.
And I think grassroots, salt of the earth people tend to want to help others. Like there's, I believe Rose from Powderhorn, I mean, I think she just saw it one day and bought it. And
Right?
her story is
now
great.
She's a legend.
Yeah, now she's a legend, right? And many others. And so I think that the first thing is to get yourself around a community that's going to be supportive. And I think Bragg Creek has that. So if somebody's looking to do business, I think this is a great place for that because, the other people in the space are going to be happy to promote you and happy to talk about you.
Yeah, very supportive community.
Very supportive community. I think the second thing is that, I think they should talk to people who have been in the community and understand what their challenges were, learn from others first. I mean, I think you have to have already made the decision to start. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck, in indecision,
Yeah, it's something you just have to start.
Yeah, that's right.
Start.
So I'm going to do it. I want to be in this community. I think that hopefully what they're doing has some leverage of the natural beauty of the area or even just the small town home feel of Bragg Creek. Because I think even when people come to Bragg Creek from other places, and we experienced that here on the ranch with our Airbnb guests, I think what they almost want that authentic walk into a boutique shop that has kind of really neat stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because they're driving on a beautiful highway. It's that
Exactly.
stop for people. So I think that if they're going to start a business in Bragg Creek area, firstly, I think they should do it.
Yeah.
And I think secondly, they should talk to people who are already in the
Find a mentor.
And thirdly, learn from other people's mistakes so that you hopefully don't repeat them.
Yeah. And Rob from Turkey and Pistols, he had a good saying is that if you're thinking of starting a business, think of not starting a business just for the sake of starting something that you can make money at, which is important, obviously. What does the community need?
And that's really good advice.
What's the community missing that you could bring? And then you can enjoy both worlds. You can be a profitable business and you can add to the community.
I love that, actually.
Yeah, it was a good line.
I'm not surprised Rob said that. Such a thoughtful, Renaissance man.
Exactly. No, that's awesome. Anything keeping you up at night right now?
It keeps me up at night. I think sometimes when you are a big dreamer, what keeps you up at night is how am I going to evolve and reach that next level of what I want to achieve, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I spend time thinking about. I don't worry. I don't know. I just think a lot of time gets wasted in worry. I think it's all about solutions. And, one of my commanding officers in the military said the best thing to me. He said, what's the worst that can happen? They can't take away your birthday.
Right?
All right, legit.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one thing. And the other thing is, even on the coaching and mentorship side, I really care about the results of the people that we're in business with. I really want them to win and succeed. To me, I want to be in the audience, not on the stage. I want to be the person clapping their success in all things. And even, for people that like, our business friends in Bragg Creek and stuff, like we love watching people win. And so I think that's almost like an addictive thing for us is wanting to find ways to support others and to promote them in some way that we can to help their businesses succeed as well, because they got to feed their family. And they, like you said, it's not just about the money, but at the end of the day, we want people to come out to this area. We want them to enjoy this. I think this should be a destination on the map, if it's not already, to come out to Bragg Creek and experience what the special place this is.
It's very admirable. Very admirable. Great attitude. Great attitude. Where can listeners find you online?
Well, we have a website.
Okay.
I have a website, therefore I am, right?
BluerockRanch.com.
Yeah, BluerockRanchAlberta.com.
BluerockRanchAlberta.com.
Yeah, so Blue Rock Ranch, Alberta, but we're very active on Instagram as well, and it's bluerock.ranch.ab. On Instagram, I think that's our big one. Where
you got a lot of great content you put out.
A lot of fun with it. The Instagram thing's interesting because it was actually, our marketing was a big thing we wanted to be successful at with our horses, because we thought it was important for people to see the development of a horse. And so when they get onto our Instagram account, they can watch these horses, the first ride they get, and so on and so forth, see them in the mountains, see all this kind of stuff.
Creating this whole story.
The whole story. Exactly. Yes. So we like that kind of thing. So we're pretty active on social media, hopefully, not in a cheesy way, just in a talking down the story of the place where we're at and whatnot. So yeah, we do our best.
Right on. So I guess some personal questions for you now.
Fire.
Okay. Do you believe in Bigfoot?
I mean, who doesn't, right?
You're obviously, this is where he would be.
I mean, I got stories.
Screeching in the night.
I've seen things.
Do you have any blurry, grainy video? Okay, all right.
Let me go into my archive.
Perfect. All right. Good,
Looks like an owl. No.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Gosh, honestly, I wanted to be in the military.
Yeah.
I kind of had that dream. I wanted to be in the military. I know I started out as a school teacher before that, but I watched Top Gun way too many times.
Yes.
And, when I eventually joined the military, it was because I idolized Maverick and Goose.
See, I was watching more like Hot Shots Part 2. Top Gun.
That explains your good sense of humor, right? You got a good sense of humor. It's been so cool getting to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. You too. What age did you go into the military?
I started in the military actually in 2001. So I think that would have made me 27 or something like that. But interestingly enough, like I kind of wanted to be in the military, but then when it started getting really real, I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm a school teacher. Maybe I should just stay in that field. And I was driving to the recruitment office to pull my papers, and 9/11 happened.
Whoa.
Like literally I was in the car.
Oh my goodness.
So that gives you a timeline. And I just was like, wow, this is crazy. So I turned around and saw it through. But yeah, so I started in my 20s. And then to this day, I actually advise in communications to one of what's called an L1 organization in Ottawa related to conduct and culture.
Okay, excellent. Interesting. So were you deployed?
No, I've never deployed overseas. Plenty of opportunities. I was very active when Canada was in Afghanistan in, basically on the communication side, and participated in a lot of the big exercises that we did. But, I just didn't feel that was the right thing for my family. And I've always, my goal is always to have a successful family life. So I filter all my decisions through that. Hopefully I helped out a bit with training people to go overseas in my capacity.
Them, yeah.
But I mean, I'm okay to be the guy that's in the rear with gear,
It's a team effort.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been my main effort. And now I actually think culture is really important in any organization. And so it's been a real privilege to be able to be part of some of the work that the Canadian Armed Forces is doing on the culture side of the house. And in fact, a lot of the things that we've, espoused in even business, I've brought as perspectives to the table and learned a lot from my colleagues in that space.
What was your first job?
My first job, I was skate patrol. Well, actually, no, my very first job was helping at the ranch. I was working at the ranch, work summers and things like that, doing some farming and stuff. And I remember the first tractor I got to drive was a old Massey Ferguson that had the strong arm like this.
Oh, yes.
And being on their baling crew in the summer, working a rake and stuff like that. And just like, honestly, I swear I was going to turn into a lizard. So much sun, but a cool experience, right? You look back on those things. Yes. That was my very first kind of real job. And then outside of that, I used to be a high level speed skater and track and field athlete. So I was in those two fields as well. Many people much better than me, but worked hard in sports to be pretty good. And so I was skate patrol at the Oval. I was the guy, like, hey, be safe, maybe don't put your kids on your shoulders, that kind of thing. So those were my first real jobs. And then school teaching after that, I became a school teacher, junior high. Wonder Years.
Yes, that's right. What was your favorite job?
My favorite job. Weirdly enough, I'm actually going to go back to the teaching world.
Okay.
Because
I thought
I
you might
was-
say that.
Yeah. So, I taught for Rocky View County and I was I'm a teacher mainly.
Way.
And my mom was a fine arts professional in Calgary. Many people know the name Susan Fuerbringer in that system. She had an incredible program. And so I came by that honestly. So I was a drama teacher and I just, honestly, I had so much fun just putting these productions together with the kids and watching them learn and succeed. And I did a lot of improv with them too. So I really like the improv world. And so I think that was one of the funnest jobs I ever had. It was also one of the most taxing jobs I've ever had because, you're staying late every night and all the rest of it.
Sure.
So I was kind of ready for more of a 9 to 5, which I don't know why I thought the military would be that, whatever.
It's a different kind.
Yeah, totally. So I think that was one of the funnest jobs I ever had.
What was your worst job?
Oh, God.
We've all had one.
We've all had one. Absolutely. Holly, my worst job. I think, weirdly enough, skate patrol at the Ovals. My worst job.
Early parents.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really funny because when I got into speed skating, I never really skated before. It's just that I sustained an injury when I was in track that wouldn't allow me to train at that level anymore. And so there was this transition I could do over to speed skating, but I never really skated. So I found skate patrol funny because then I learned how to skate on speed skates, these long skates, and you're very stable. But then when you do skate patrol, you're on these little hockey skates. And I'm like the one Canadian kid that's like, and so there was that to navigate. And then, chasing after parents doing whatever they're doing or kids, whatever they're doing. I'm like, this is crazy, man. I'm like an ice babysitter. I think that was one of the ones where I was probably like, oh,
yes. That's hilarious. What was your favorite subject in school?
There's the classic, phys ed, answer, but actually it was biology. What? Biology and history. I liked biology and history. I thought, the human body was cool how it worked. I've even entertained maybe going into medicine in the military. They've got programs for that. Yeah. When I was deciding what I wanted to be when I grew up there. But really I've always been a big fan of history and military history in particular. Maybe that's one of the passions. A lot of my family have served in, both the German and Canadian military and interesting stories. I've always tried to pick their brains. So those two subjects, I always just found them interesting.
It's funny you say that because I've interviewed a lot of people who used to be in the military or currently are, and they all say history was one of their favorite subjects. So there's some correlation there between military service and history.
I'm sure we bought into the propaganda of the glories. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Have you ever been fired from a job?
Weirdly, no, I've never. No? Oh, actually, no, that's okay. I lie.
Well, you can fire yourself.
You can. Yeah. I did have one job when I was living in England with my wife, and it was like telemarketing sales.
Oh, yeah.
And this was like the first time I just needed a job, gig. Right? Yeah. So I just remember I was terrible. I was horrible at this job to the point where I would fake making phone calls.
Was that right?
Like literally Joyce Costanza. Like I was that guy. And I remember once I got caught by the managing director and she's like, I'm young, I'm stupid. She's like, hey, Peter, we have concerns about what you're doing on.
There's a dial tone at the other end of your phone call.
And I just remember saying, how dare you? I quit. I'm going to break up with you before you break up with me. Right. But I was definitely 100% fired from that job.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Really funny stories.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, for coming on. This has been a pleasure to have a conversation with you. And I'm again, we could probably talk for hours here, but thanks for coming on Bragging About Business. And I definitely wish you great success with the ranch, the coaching, with the Airbnb, with all of your businesses. And we hope to see, a lot more of you around the community.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for what you're doing to promote the businesses in Bragg Creek. I watched this podcast. It's quickly become one of the ones that's near and dear to my heart. I just think people can learn so many great tips, even on entrepreneurship from the other people that you've interviewed and whatnot. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you very much.
Talk about these important stories.
I did not pay him to say these things. He's saying this on his own. So 100%. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thanks, sir.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Peter. Check out Bluerock's website where you can get a glimpse of the panoramic views from the ranch at www.bluerockranch.alberta.com or their IG handle at bluerock.ranch.ab. Next week, we are heading down to the hamlet to visit with Shannon Blakely of Represa Wine. Don't miss it. Have a great week.